Going live in 5-4. It's already live. All right. So, welcome to Tea Time today. I would say we have a special agenda, but I don't know what that is. So, I'm going to have to go on the internet page and see what we're going to talk about. If we don't have any speakers today, there's something I want to try to figure out with you guys. Jesse just mentioned a problem to me that blew my mind, where it happens on mobile, but it doesn't happen on wired, and it pretty much uses the same templates. So yeah, I'll get into that a little more. He said that the issue is in Pound Janus. I asked for a ticket number, but I'm going to go to the intranet and see if we have anyone speaking today, and we do. John Robinson. Hey, John. Let's see if he's on. So he's not on right now, but let me go ahead and ping him. So and Richard Bernofsky, I just assumed that he was going to speak because he wasn't available last time. Okay, cool.
Hey,
Hey,
did you see that Paul and Bruno couldn't make it today?
I did not see that.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Did they post this in all?
Yes. I think it was right before you came back from the showcase or whatever.
Ah, okay. Well, no problem. Pretty much, we're going to have your presentation, and then we're going to look into this weird mobile issue that's going on, a mobile-only issue, and it uses the same Django templates.
Ah, nice.
So yeah, that's going to be fun. We're going to try to figure that out. Jesse just blew my mind with it like 5 minutes ago. All right, so John, you're up, man. You can take it away.
All right, cool. Let's see. I'll be weird here and turn on my camera briefly because I'm pulling up my presentation because I was just coding outside because I thought we weren't going to do it. Let's see. So I'm going to be talking about a game that I've been developing called Ledge. Screen share, of course. I'm going to be talking to AI about the AI of the game. Do you guys see my screen? Oh no, what did I do? I hit share and not a full screen button. Do you guys see the Ledge? Am I screen sharing right now?
Yeah, we see it.
There we go. All right, cool. I'm going to be talking about some of how I did things, some of the features, and some of the fun bugs that I usually like hearing talks about in the first place. Go away. I know that you're screen sharing. So firstly, about the game. It's one of those overly ambitious games where you got to do like all the elements of every game ever, you know, RPG, shooting, and there has to be a cool narrative and physics and all that boring stuff. Shooting, leveling, gearing, story, physics, all that, you know, super time-intensive stuff that naive game programmers want. How I did it, I used Java. I was 5 years in Java world, so that would just be the fastest way that I could make it. libgdx is a game library. Basically gives you a wrapper to OpenGL, and then I just do all my own stuff. GDX World, I made a library which is like a context and an environment in which I can populate my world. Java Behavior Trees is an AI concept that I'll talk about a little bit later, but this is a library that a guy from Georgia Tech made, and it's awesome for behavior tree. Here, my baby. I'm trying to decide if he's going to join us. Probably not. JGraphT also is related, so it's actually just a graphing library, but as I'll talk about later, it also encompasses stuff like Dijkstra's algorithm and A*, which you can use for pathing. And again, I'll get to that later, but I was a contributor. I actually added the A* implementation, though they never accepted it because it was a little too concrete. They never said why, but I have a suspicion that it was like way too specific of a usage as a derivation of what? Like Dijkstra's can be super generalized, but they didn't like the heuristic how I did it. I used generics everywhere, and I gave them a good example, but they didn't import it just because it was too complex, I think. And high-level topics, I'm going to talk about pathing, visibility, and behavior trees in this. So using JGraphT, I made a bidirectional graph of my entire game world. And there's a screenshot, well, let's see, is it right here? Yeah, okay, so it's a 2D game, so you're looking from the side. So this is a screenshot of my world editor, which is like a super zoomed out version of the actual game. If you look slightly like kind of on the right, halfway in the middle, you see a little red box, a little arrow pointing to it. That's the actual, like, this is how the game world works, how I just panned. So you're kind of like jumping, it's like Mario camera, if you will. So side, you jump, you fall, that good stuff. It's not overhead. And part of the issue of pathing is that you need to be able to do collision detection, which I imported with the physics engine of libgdx, which I'm trying to remember, I think it's Box2D is their physics. So I built up a lot of junk around that. How I decided to do the nodes is that anything within about 3 meters, and so you'd say, oh, you can't jump 3 meters, oh, you idiot, yeah, it's really high, but with similar to Mario, you can jump like 5 times, 10 times your height. Some guys have jetpacks, and to accommodate that, I use a little bit extra higher nodes. The weights are proportional to the distance from things that they would collide with. So that basically means all the ground level nodes are low weight, whereas the higher nodes are high weight. So it's hard to get like from one point in the air to another point in the air, which will make a little more sense a little later. And again, you can use A-star or Dijkstra's, doesn't really matter. A-star is a little better, but it's a lot more complex, so it just depends on your use case. And here I'm going to actually show the actual nodes in the graph. So I have my game world, but I also have a debug view overlaid on top of that, which is all this green stuff is all the debug. So the green on like the junky grass that I made because I'm a terrible artist, that shows the polygons that I used, some sort of triangulator. I forget how exactly I did that. Anyways, it breaks up a complex polygon on multiple nodes into a bunch of triangle-like things. I guess it's non-concave, but that's not important for this case. That's things that would collide and would produce nodes. Killing me, dogs. Would produce nodes directly on top of where the player would normally sit. So you'll see there are something like 3 or 4 nodes tall, generally. And if I can use my mouse here. So here on the bottom, from this node to this node, it would be very low weight because it's easy. You don't have to jump. You can just path that way. If you're using Dijkstra's, say you're over here by this blue thing, if you want to get up onto this this platform, then you would see the lowest cost route would be staying on the ground, staying on the ground, staying on the ground, and then you jump somewhere around here up onto this thing. So that was kind of interesting pathing that I read about that I brought into my game that works pretty well. If these guys up here, this enemy up on this platform where my mouse is kind of hovering, if he sees me, he will not jump right at me. He will actually path. He'll be like, oh, I do want to get closer because of my personality, so I'm going to go off to the right here, and then probably like jump down to this one because it's lower weight. Jump down to this one, jump down to this one, jump down to this one. Though I'm not really sure. Maybe he would just jump down and kind of curve around to the left, depending on the weights. I'm not really 100% sure what he'd do, but all that stuff is taken into account. Visibility-wise, how we do that? If you were the blue guy over here on the right, then you just shoot out a ray. So if you're trying to detect the red guy, then you would collide with a world object before, so you don't add it. These little dashes are, you could partition things if you wanted to speed it up and you don't want to say, I want to see if I see everybody in the whole level that's loaded right now. You could partition it, and the physics system lets you do this pretty well with the broad phase collider, in saying this guy's in this region, this guy's in this region. So if you're in like a region, let's see, so tic-tac-toe board maybe, if you're in the center region, then you want to get all the regions around you. So you might say, hey, physics engine, what's all the junk within like 8 regions of me approximately? But I didn't really have that problem because my levels are small enough, it wasn't a problem. So one of the bugs, I guess, finally one of the more tricky things that I've had to deal with. And I just did it like Sunday, something like that. So after I refactored some of the AI, I had some weird symptoms where snipers would not attack the player, which they're also like factions and stuff, so it would be friendly or enemy or enemy or friendly. But in this case, it was the enemy snipers wouldn't attack me until I actually shot them. And sometimes the turret operators, alternatively not related to the snipers, sometimes the turret operators wouldn't attack at all. And rarely groups would stop attacking me after I hid. So like they're checking where I am, they're checking where I am, they're checking where I am, and then I go behind some sort of obstacle, then they would just stop shooting at me. And even if I jump back out, then they still wouldn't shoot at me. And that was kind of weird. I didn't like that very much. So I finally debugged it Sunday, sat down, decided that I should look at it a little bit more. And I'm the blue player again, and I'm running left and right, that arrow that's kind of like slightly vertical, maybe like 30 degrees up off 0 or 40, something like that. So I'd run down, and this is like a use case of how obstinate this guy is. So I'd run down, he started shooting at me, and then I killed this other guy, this green guy, and then the turret operator, after I killed the green guy, he just kept shooting at the same place forever. And no matter where I was, if I was out of his view down to the left, he would still shoot. If I were still like in his view but above where he was, he'd still shoot that same spot. So that was helpful and telling to me. See, I honestly don't even remember a lot about this. Just the nodes of my behavior trees, it would say stuff like make a visible check, save that information, cache it, all the stuff that he sees, and then later draw from that. So it would say, have you been shot recently? Alert. If you've been shot recently, respond to that thing that shot you recently. Otherwise, did somebody tell you that somebody's nearby? Then act on that. So what I had actually done is, in the refactor, I took out visibility, and it was not being checked anymore for the turrets and the sentries. So where normally you would change your behavior based on what you'd see, these guys weren't. They were only basing it off of what these other guys saw. So if I go back to my little picture here, this green guy saw me at that position, that last red dash. He saw me there before I killed him. He told his red buddy that that's where I was. Then the red guy never got any more updates, just that the enemy is alive, he's standing there, he's there forever, he's not dead because the green guy himself is dead. So after that, I loaded up my behavior tree. Here's my editor, and I have a visible, I guess it's just off the screen, but if you look on the right side, here I have this visible check. Sure enough, it was missing, and all my nodes, everything was behaving fine. It's just that I had a missing visible, so essentially they were blind. I do have behavior trees for each kind of personality, so there's aggressive, there's neutral, there's a lot of specific boss behavior trees, that kind of stuff. And this was specifically, the aggressive was fine. It was the turret operators and the snipers or sentries were messed up. So all the aggressive people were relaying all this information. So if you killed all the aggressive guys, all the sentries would just be like in this blind state. It's pretty cute, pretty cute. The final thing is ragdoll control. So I made a lot of custom ragdolls. Let's see, I think that's later. Anyways, I made a humanoid ragdoll, which I saved and controlled in kind of hard-coded it in a lot of places because it's used everywhere, the humanoid, and makes it a little faster, makes it a little more convenient. But I also have the ability to have custom ragdolls for things like bosses, large bosses. I have a quest system, which is like, oh, you enter this area, there's a trigger, and then there's some sort of manifestation on that. And I have a lot of physics-related manifestations. For instance, provide a torque on some sort of physics body, impulse, time forces, all that boring stuff. So grouping those two things together of being able to export any kind of physics objects and then having quests with physics manifestations, I decided to kind of combine those. And for animations, for controlling how they jump and their special moves and that kind of stuff, I basically added quests to the bosses. So I would be like, well, the player's really close, that's the trigger, then you're going to execute this manifestation of the quest, which is jump up and smash him with your giant sword thing. So here's some of, and it's, so to the left, the bottom left is the little player, and he is not looking like he's in a great position because to the right is the garbage man with his giant sword and super terrible developer artwork, rearing back, and he's about to attack. I got it mid-shot. He can have any number of appendages. The quest system really can provide the torque or do any kind of physics things that need to happen to get the boss in the state that he needs to be to do damage, which, all that to say, he can lean back, he can throw his arms up, he can throw his arms forward, he can hit with the sword, all that good stuff. So you see a little hand up there, weapons attached to the hand. I can do a force up, I can do a force down, I can check how much force is on his torso, I can check all the current torques, all that boring stuff. And then in checking some of those thresholds, then some trigger will be caused, and I can recover from a lot of it. So like this attack, he would throw his arms down, and I throw it with such torque that his body flips counterclockwise, and he goes almost upside down. And then in the recovery, the trigger is like, oh, you're upside down, that's not good, so let me keep torquing you clockwise until you're back up. So in that way, I can control any of my complex ragdolls or anything really. I have like vehicles that you can control and like turrets potentially, like big complex physics turrets, and like chains with engines and motors and all that good stuff. It has the ability to do that. So I don't know that I'll do it. I'm kind of bored and done with this because I was overly ambitious. But it's kind of nearing an end, and it's cool to see that finally some of that stuff is working all right. And I would show you a demo, but as I said, I was just outside, and I'm not on that computer. So no demo, sorry. Ask me later. So that's all I got. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, I have future work here, apparently. Apparently that's not the end. So planners, how the guys are, if you remember that graph, the bidirectional graph, how the guys would jump from a lower part to an upper part, the move node doesn't actually maintain any state or any other information, so you can't plan in advance how to optimally get to a path. If you're just kind of sitting in the air all of a sudden and you know that your next node is up on some sort of platform, then you need to calculate each frame, like how much force you should be providing on yourself to hit that jump and hit the next jump and do all that kind of stuff. That's done with planners. I don't have one right now. It's too naive. It would involve calculus-y stuff. Oh no, hisses, boo. And then it's expensive computationally. So I just said no. And I have a bunch of NPCs, so whatever, it's close enough. And you can share it, like with what is that game by Blizzard, StarCraft 2? When they do pathing, they can do good group pathing. Like the Zerglings are awesome, and they look awesome because part of why is they calculate their path, probably with something like A star, which is what I would be using. And then they share it intelligently, and they have this kind of group pathing, a bunch of algorithms to support that. And that's cool stuff. I'd recommend reading any papers you can on that. So that's more the end of my slides. And some of this work came out of when I was doing my master's, graduated like last year. I did an artificial intelligence independent study, which was also amazing. Independent study is the best class that you can take, I propose. And there were a lot of great things that came out of that, I guess. And my work paid for it at the time, so it's like they were paying for me to introduce A star into this library that I could use later for a game. And everybody wins. So that's all I got. Any questions?
Any questions from anybody?
That's I going to her. See ya.
All right. Well, cool. So, Christian, maybe if you can, and that was awesome, John. I think everybody is pretty much mind blown by that. Like, I've done some games and stuff in the past, but like, wow, this is really taking it to the next level. So, like, what's in the future for this project?
Well, like I said, it's like stupidly ambitious. So I have 5 levels done of 21. I'm thinking of probably releasing it on some dumb small site like itch.io for indie games and just getting people's feedback, offering minimal viable product gameplay, that kind of stuff, just to get it out and just kind of move on to other projects. I was thinking of, so yes, the world editor is open source. I was thinking of extracting out the engine and making it so that Ledge, the project, is just gameplay code, and then carrying the engine out to other games. But I love games. I love making games. I could see doing that, taking the engine and doing another one. I was thinking of a pre-universe ending. So say you have the Big Bang, little tiny stuff infinitely compact into like basically a point in space, explodes out. Well, what about at the end, like assuming that humanity or some version of humanity exists, some sentient beings, whatever, and everything's contracting, and you're like a year, 100 years before that. Like, what might that look like? So, anyways, more games, I guess, in short. Or
That's cool, man. Any other comments? Alrighty, well, thank you. I seen a few people join. We have something pretty nice. We have a few Mutual Mobile guys and on the call. So Christian and Dennis, there's a mobile only problem going on right now. It doesn't happen on Wired, and both of these or this page use the same template. So from what Jesse was telling me was on mobile, when this page renders, it doesn't have the template it needs, so it goes up the hierarchy tree, templates inheritance tree, and it finds the template in Wired, and it uses that. But the Wired site looks good, and the issue doesn't happen there. So maybe Christian, you can give us more information, and then I would like for you to maybe share your screen, and then we can see how to set it up, and then like all of us can kind of dive into it and try to figure out what's going on here.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
So yeah, you pretty much prefaced it the way that I'm kind of experiencing it here. So I'll just kind of show you what is going on. So I have a regular story with a map related object, and so if you look at, let's look at the Wired version. It's the map displays just fine here, and looking at the source. You'll see this inline JavaScript for this map, and it all displays fine. Everything works. But if you look at the source for the mobile version of the same story, you'll see down, I think in the set markers, you'll see this for var I, and the I, you see the less than gets escaped. So, of course, that there are some errors in the JavaScript. And that's basically what's happening. The same story, the same page on mobile is, for some reason, all this is being escaped, and I have no idea why. I tried chatting, I don't know if you saw an IRC with Jay Heady and trying to figure that out. I was also talking with James Van Dyne about it yesterday, and he was stumped as well, and so just kind of stuck here. And let's see. And the other thing that I was kind of messing with just a few minutes ago, or that I noticed, was, so here's the related map HTML, and so there's two div clearfix divs here, and it looks like if I look at the source, all of this is being put into, like the divs don't seem to be closing in the right place. And I don't know what that is about or why that's happening, but to kind of just clear all this up, I can just create two divs here. And sort
Yeah,
of,
this is good. And like the first thing you've tried was copy over the wired templates to mobile, right?
yeah, that's right. And that didn't seem to have any effect. So
Okay.
the related inline and related map, those are now in mobile, and it's really doing the exact same thing.
Okay. So that lesson sign isn't being encoded. Well, it's being encoded on mobile, and that's why it's breaking. It's breaking in that for loop. But on wired, that less than sign isn't being encoded,
Yeah,
so it works.
yeah.
So I know we have some analytical people on the call, so we can do this a few ways, like get some initial input from them, and then we could just try things together on, like, on your screen, as you guys have ideas. So
Okay.
yeah. So first of all, I'll go ahead and open it up and see why you guys might think there's some encoding there, and why Django's encoding, and then why it might just happen on mobile.
Can we start by getting the names of the templates involved?
Yes, great idea. Great idea, Jen. Thanks.
Yeah, so related underscore inline.html. So this file is being included from the story page template. And as far as how that's being included, I'm not entirely sure. I think it's somehow from the back-end code, because when it's basically being included in this loop somewhere, I think there's some sort of logic to display these inline objects within the story.
Yeah, I can confirm that, Holden. It's a recent change in the way related objects on stories are handled. I was looking at the review on that, and it definitely includes this in the template processing inside the view logic.
Okay.
All right, can we post these templates in chat, please, as you guys come across them? Like maybe the containing story template, and then the templates that the related objects call to. And then I think it eventually gets to the related underscore map.html where it's failing. Is that right? Or is it?
Yeah, that's right. But you could put this code into related inline, and it'll do the same thing. So I think I guess starts seems to be in related inline. Yeah.
Yeah. So once you get that code posted, I want to see if anyone has like how does Django go about encoding? Is it like one of these tags here, perhaps? And is this a recent bug, or is it like has this always been broke?
I'm not entirely sure. I just started working on this a spike to implement the Google Map into the mobile site, and once I started messing with that, I noticed this issue. So I don't know how long it could have been.
Okay.
Do we know what the so I'm looking at the story free template, which is in mobile. Do you know what the equivalent template would be? Parent template for the Wired site.
I'm not exactly sure which one that would be. I can look around here. So use. Yeah, I don't think the Wired site has exactly the same structure here. But I imagine it's in this news folder. Here I can.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good starting point, just to make sure they are using the same template between mobile and desktop. That might be the disconnect there.
Yeah. So I'm not sure exactly how Wired is doing this. Um, detail. Hmm.
When I do a search for related inline.html, I see it being rendered through rendered to string in the medley logic. Um, how is um, if I'm looking at actually let me start with this. If I'm looking at my own repository from what would currently be on master or Ty3, would I see approximately the same code?
Yes. So the only thing I changed really was just moving these templates into mobile. And so I didn't change any code actually in the templates, um, just moving them into mobile. So you should be looking at the same thing.
Okay.
And for my reading of that view code, the way it works is it renders several templates to strings and joins the output to produce what's actually returned from the view code.
Yeah, and Django, I don't know what library they have, but it seems like there's something going on with encoding HTML entities where it finds a less than sign, and it thinks it has to encode that to make the HTML safe. And it seems like it's being ran through some type of processor that's doing that type of encoding.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Is this URL where you reproduce it? Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Is there a reproducible URL live, or is it just on your local box?
No, this is I've only been looking at this locally.
Gotcha.
There's sort of a lack of FEs right now, so I couldn't really set up an FE for this.
Sure.
Yeah, so I guess how can we reproduce? Do we just create a story locally? Can we check out like Type 3, or do we need your branch?
No, you could just do this on Ty3, and all I did was create a regular news story, and really all I did was add a map-related object, which I believe you do by selecting a hybrid list, and then selecting or wait, sorry, no, I was confused with something else. No, so you can select map, and then you just create a map. A standard map object, and I just set this to just some random location, so this should be reproducible in Ty3.
Okay, good. And you just save it, just save the story, and then you look at the story on Wired, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess you see the story. So on MDOT, do you like how do you know you get there, or do you look at the JavaScript, or does the page not load?
So on Wired, it loads in here, you can see the map. But when I looked at it on mobile, I noticed that you have this view larger, and then you have the name of the map. So that's when I looked into it and noticed.
Oh, okay.
Basically, just kind of dug around the DOM here, and that's when I noticed the error. Well, it actually creates a JavaScript error, of course, because there's an unexpected semicolon there.
Yeah, it doesn't show the map on mobile, pretty much, right?
Yeah, because
Okay.
since it errors on that JavaScript, it doesn't show the map.
All right. I'm going to try to reproduce it. Let me. Yeah.
Where is this being included? Would you show the including template again?
Yeah.
And where in the template it's being included?
So the related map here just has the inline JavaScript for the map, the Google map, and that's and this related map is being included from related inline down here toward the bottom, right here.
But what template is including the contents from related inline? Where is that being displayed?
So that should be in story free. So that isn't directly included from this. As Dennis said, I think it's somehow being included in the backend code. I think it tries to display inline objects within the story. So this sort of breaks up the paragraphs of the story and displays the related objects.
Is it being displayed where we see element pipe safe?
I think so. I'm not sure how it works exactly, but that's where if I remove this sort of area here, it'll nothing will display. So yeah, it should be in this area.
Is it the element safe?
I think so. We can sort of.
Because that's a Django filter, and that applies functionality to what you're doing. So that could be doing some translations there.
Yeah, but normally safe is what's supposed to be keeping the translations from happening, I believe.
Okay.
So that's why I'm kind of curious, but there's something going on there.
Right. And if you take those out, does it like go away? I want to make sure we narrow it down to the line where it's displaying it.
Let me try that. Remove those two element safe.
Yeah, you could probably just leave out safe as well.
Hey, I'm just trying to follow everything that's going on here. So is that smaller, the I smaller than whatever that in that for loop, that the only thing that's being escaped? So there's nothing else. Everything else is okay. The brackets, all the curly brackets, everything is fine except for that one particular character.
Well, there.
You have to mute for
And sorry for cutting out there, but it's also happening at this one down here. So I think I can show that in the source. Well, I removed it. But yeah, so I think that is being included somehow in this element, or where did that go? In the element safe tag, one of those.
Yeah, so let's see if we can figure out which one and
Oh.
then we can take away the safe and see what happens too.
Okay, good idea. I guess I'll just remove this one. Just see where. While that loads, my local instance takes a little bit to load.
And Mason, I like where you were going too. I wonder if it's just like trying to encode that one line or just every HTML entity that it finds in that JavaScript.
Well,
Yeah, because it's weird, right? It's not doing that to the brackets. It's not doing it to the curly bracket. It's just doing it to the greater and less than signs.
yeah, that's a good point.
But those are the HTML encoded, correct?
Oh, sorry, you were echoing there.
Yeah, so normally brackets don't need to be encoded in order to display correctly. It's just the greater than or less than signs. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with Jen on that.
Yeah. So I think I found the right element. So I should go ahead and remove safe and see what happens.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. I've not tried that before.
If you still get the issue, then we know that element stuff is coming from the back end, and that's probably why you're having a hard time kind of identifying this. You've done what you could on the template side, but might have to dig into some back-end code where it's just returning this information this way.
Okay. And yeah, I am just a front-end developer, so that's where I sort of drop off there. So I did remove that safe, and it looks like it's doing the same thing. Don't think that had any effect.
Okay, so let's find out where that comes from, element. So let's see what's generating that element. That must be in the context, I guess. And maybe you can go to the code again?
Yeah. So I did search for the related inline and found this file. I don't know exactly if this is the right one, but if this points you in the right direction, this is in Storyville/medley Ellington overrides /news/views.py. So I did find this related inline.
Render to string. That's interesting.
Holden, is your story saved as a free or a premium story?
I believe it's a free story.
Because the code path through the view logic that does the render to string is only on premium, I believe. I'm still trying to figure out which view is actually getting called on this, but that's what it looks like to me, is that's only for premium.
Okay.
Yeah, this is free.
Yeah,
It's
where to...
closer to the bottom.
Oh.
So yeah, Jen, I like where you're going. Then it's just like we need to see the view, the backend view that's generating this, and passing the element context variable, and seeing how that's constructed.
Yeah, so it looks like this is a free story.
So just out of curiosity, so when it's going through and saying if media type, what would that media type be coming through as?
Media type. I'm not sure exactly how to answer that. I believe this is the right area to sort of look. So it looks for these specific content types, and so if it sees medley static map, it includes the related map. I don't know if that answers your question.
Actually, the question I was asking about, the code that I'm seeing that's rendering the related inline is in Storyville, and it's in Medley, Ellington Overrides, News, Views.py. And I was wondering if maybe we could insert some Python debugging statements to kind of take a look at what's going on in there.
Okay. So you'll have to kind of guide me. I don't know Python.
Okay. Well, let's, first of all, since we don't know what media type we're dealing with, let's find that out first. Let's actually see line 381.
Yes.
Right after that line, insert import PDB.
PDB.
Semicolon. Here, I'll type it in so you can see PDB.
Make it IPDB so we can we have more options in there.
Okay.
Okay.
Is it still IPDB set trace?
Yes, it's the same.
This thing that needs to be. Okay.
Keep it on the same line.
Okay.
That's what the semicolon does.
This one too here?
No. Go ahead and delete that semicolon.
All right, I see. Okay. So do I just reload the page or?
Yes, go ahead and reload the page. And then switch back over to your console so you can see when it pops up.
Oh, okay.
There we go. Go ahead and type media_type at the console.
Okay.
Let's see what it gives us. Okay, V2 newspaper. So we know that's the branch of logic that we're following. Okay, and go ahead and hit, let's see, do we want to do any other debugging here first?
Weren't we looking at element, I guess? Is that in context? What happens if you type in element here
Okay.
and then enter? Okay, so that's done at a lower level, perhaps, where it passes it into context. Which template was that in, that element variable?
That was in story free.
Ah, story free, that's what it is.
What are we seeing for paragraphs right now? If you type in paragraphs, we might get a lot of output or not. Okay.
I'm trying to see what like view render story underscore free, and I'm looking for story underscore free somewhere in Metli. I want to look at the URLs and see which view that is. Does anybody know?
Would you repeat that?
I wonder which view is rendering story underscore free .html. I'd like to see how that element variable is being constructed.
I think the view that we're currently looking at is the one that's rendering that template.
Okay, perfect. And which view is that?
That is, hold on, let me scroll back. It's in Storyville, Medley, Ellington Overrides, News, Views.py, and I think it's in Put Related Content Inline.
Thank you so much. I'm going to post that in chat. Thanks, Jen.
Okay. If you type in related items into the debugger, I'm sorry, related underscore items. Okay. Okay, I'm seeing another template, just so we can kind of follow. The template that I'm seeing includes, it didn't go through. Is anybody seeing what? Oh, there we go. It's just I've just delayed. That's what's supposed to be rendering it. Related object.html inside of the related inline.
Yeah, that makes a little more sense. Because I was looking for the element context variable in the news/views.py override and didn't see it. So I was going to go over to the inline. See.
I don't know if related object is reached because related map I think is the one that's used, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you're right. It's from related inline should be including related map.
Um, right.
Why don't we do this? We debugged the case where we're looking at mobile, right? And here there's the differences between mobile and wired, right? Why don't we do the same thing? We already have the debug codes in the view, and how about we view the wired version of the site where the issue isn't happening, and then see what's happening inside the view where we had a debug, and then we can compare maybe.
Okay. So would that be a matter of reloading?
Well, if you go back to the terminal at the PDB, just press C, enter, so that it continues, and then go back to the browser and then view the same page but in wired instead of mobile.
Okay. So here is the wire. Should I reload this?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then go back to the terminal to see if it stops at the break.
Okay.
You may need to restart your server. I've seen it hang there before.
All right. Okay, I think it restarted. So I'm sorry, what do I do again from here? Oh, I think it.
Go ahead and go back and reload the wired page, and then
Okay.
come back to the terminal so you can see it stopping at the PDB.
Okay, I think it's actually already reloading. There we go.
Okay, let's just verify that our media type is still V2 newspaper.
Okay.
Okay. Let's take a quick look at the other things we looked at, paragraphs. Okay. Related, let's see. Is that underscore items? I think it is.
Okay.
All right. Type N as in 9. Yeah, and then hit enter so we can go to the next line.
Okay.
So it's looking at all remaining. Wait, shouldn't it go to for the next for loop?
Go ahead. I was going to say I think I'd kind of like to move the PDB statement down to the bottom right before it returns the response, and check that for both the mobile and wired. That may get us a little bit more to see what we're actually rendering.
Okay. So you want to move this down to which line?
If you scroll, there's right before the return statement.
Okay, right here. All right. Okay, and then do I reload wired or mobile?
Let's start with wired first because that's where we are at the moment.
Okay.
And just a quick reminder, it's a little past 5. I definitely don't want to keep you guys if you want to head out, but I'm very curious about this, so I'll definitely be putting some more time into this, maybe 30 minutes or so. So I'm going to be around for a little bit, but I didn't want to make you guys feel like you have to hang here with us. I think right now is getting very interesting because we are getting into how put related content inline is rendering this, and we should be pretty close to finding out what's translating that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious as well to get this figured out, and it's only 4 here Central Time.
Let's find out what the length of output is, just to see.
Okay.
Still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
LEN, and then output in parentheses.
All right.
Okay. Let's see what the first element of output is.
Okay.
And we'll check the second one if that's not what we're looking for. Sorry, I don't want to make assumptions. Are you familiar with Python, or should I go ahead and?
No, I'm not familiar hardly at all. So
Okay. So go ahead and output bracket 0.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Just out of curiosity, where is that in the story?
That looks like that's the story, the main story content. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so let's check output 1. So the output looks good there. It obviously gets transformed somewhere else. So you notice
this is wired. Remember, this is wired. So if we're looking for the weird, the characters change, we should be looking in the mobile.
Oh, right. Thank you. Okay, so let's run this. Let's run the same. Go ahead and hit C to continue.
And so load up
Yeah.
mobile.
Hmm.
I think this might hang.
Okay, maybe restart. Yeah, maybe restart
Yeah.
your server. I usually don't have problems with the PDB. Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's okay. It seems to do that a lot for me. So if I like load 2 pages at once or something, it'll hang for a while.
Hey, for me, since I've started doing this MED-RS all no reload to start my server, I've had fewer issues with server hanging and being slow. The only caveat is that you have to restart the server yourself every time you make changes, but since you're a front-end developer, you'll probably never have to deal with that because
Oh, okay.
that's only relevant when you make Python changes.
I see. What was that command?
What's that?
What was that again?
Oh, I pasted it in the chat room. MED-RS all, and then the no reloads. That prevents the Django server, the script from watching the Python changes. So it's much lighter.
All right. Good to know. Thank you. All right. So back at PDB.
Okay, let's look at output 1. And that also looks normal.
Yeah.
Okay, let's I'm gonna do let's see if we can trace the code a little bit, and I'm probably gonna do it on my end over here just to see if there's anything that's calling put related content inline. It looks like it's the request, the URL itself, but I mean the actual view itself, but I want to just verify that.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
and I had to. I'm sorry, I had to step out for a second, but it looks like from what I see here, put related inline isn't doing the translation. Is that correct for mobile and desktop? So
yes.
we're good here. Okay, good. And if I'm following you, Jen, you're seeing if something else calls that function, right?
Yes, that's
Okay,
right.
okay, got it. Okay. No, that's a good idea.
If you want to do a quick search through the code to see if through the medley code to see if there are any other calls of that view, the put related content inline.
Was that for me?
Yes. Or actually, you know what? I could probably share my screen. Hold on.
Okay.
Might be a little easiasier, and
Yeah.
you can watch me do the search.
Yeah, because I'm very inexperienced with this
Okay.
backend stuff here.
All right. So it looks here we've got 2 calls. Interesting. Okay. So we've got story detail paid. That's probably not us. And we've got premium content. That's medley story premium fill.
That's only used when you're viewing a My Site premium story and it's trying to get all the premium content after the user has been authorized.
Yeah. So we're in the right place. So does that mean it's oops? can't come can't come back or we get forever tunnels.
Yeah.
So I guess the question is what we know that put related content inline is being called, but where is it being called from? Because I'm not seeing a URL.
Well, one way to find out is go back to the same trace that we did. At the very end, before we return from the function, we can just press type U that goes up one level, and then we can see who called it.
Oh, you're right. Actually, we're still in there, correct? Are we? We're still in PDB.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, type U, enter.
Okay.
So that's where it's being called from story detail pay.
Okay. Is it just me, or did the screen just freeze up? Oh. Never mind. It's catching up.
Okay. So this is from story detail page.
So in the next lines after this is called, we have a few things that are happening to the output that was just returned. One thing that happens is that there is a function call inserts publish this tweets, and then after that we also have inject SEO URLs, and then that's it. I think that's pretty much the last thing. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, and then there's another render to response after that, just before the end of the function call.
It might be useful then to insert a couple of PDB statements right before the render to response, and after the inject SEO, each of the two transformations.
Right.
So you only need the, so if we go down and you see story.story equals put related content in line. I think that's the first transformation. Does anybody see any others?
No, I will put it right at 200. You're right, because like put related content, the transformation isn't happening. Like everything is fine at line 199. So if we put an import PDB at 200, yeah, we can trace it down.
Yeah,
so go all the way down. Yeah.
Go ahead and remove that.
And what's that?
You want to go back up or down to 200.
Right. Paste that like that.
Yep, that would be it. And then let's put another one. Just copy the pdb.setTrace, just the last part of it. Put it right at line 202.
Okay. So right here. All right.
And then right after line 208. So we'll put it on yeah.
Okay.
And then do we want to put let's see. Then let's put one right after line 215, and we'll double check the response. Okay.
It almost feels like at 2.14, it's probably using a different template for mobile, and that's probably where. And this
Where
is
it might.
yeah, and this is just me throwing something out. But if just looking at this code, if I were to compare desktop and mobile, like this template hierarchy would come into play here. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just guessing at this point, but we can see.
Okay. Yeah, there might be a difference in story detail versus story embed that one of them uses safe and the other one doesn't or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Let's give it a run on mobile.
All right.
Holden, are you going to be a backend developer after this?
Possibly. This is the most I've dug into this Python and before, so.
Okay. Let's see what story is,
All right.
or I should say story, not story. Okay, that still looks good. Go ahead and hit C.
Okay.
Let's. Oh, did you hit C?
Yeah. And it says context.
Oh, go ahead and try story.story again. I know where that is. Sorry.
Okay.
Let's check the output.
Still looks good as far as no translations.
Yep, I see it. Okay, so let's hit C again. And let's check story.story another time.
Still fine.
Okay, looks good. Okay, the next time he hits C, we should end up with, we want to check the response.
I think so too. We didn't have audio issues. We had remote people presenting. You made me laugh when you were like, "Hey, Victor, are you actually are you switching slides or whatever?" He's like, "No, I'm still on the same slide," because he was talking for like 20 minutes.
I know. I was just worried because he was like talking about some data.
Yeah.
So I'm like, just gonna save this on the slide.
There we
And then
go.
what about when
Go ahead and type response. Let's see. What if you type?
Response.content.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Do you see your JavaScript anywhere?
I'm looking. I'm not seeing it. Just yet. I'm seeing that.
And it looks like it's quoted it in there, at least for the document.ready function. Something strange, though.
Can you run your cursor over it, Holden? I don't see it yet.
Well, I'm still sort of looking here. I do see.
Okay.
Where did it go? I
That's
had
it.
a function called. Okay, so here's see a map related. I'm not seeing where that if where that for loop was.
Yeah, I don't see it either. I
Would
see
you-
Holden's map.
Yeah. Would you run a quick type in template so we can see which template is being used?
Okay.
News story detail.
So that should be this one.
I've looked at story detail, and you look for where it says content, block content.
Okay. Block content.
Seems like.
So here is where the story free gets included.
Where is that again? Would you highlight that, or did you find it yet?
So I found this story free, but I'm not sure if that's what we're looking for.
Okay.
So if you go to story free at the top, you'll see what it's doing to story.story. It's calling a tag called split DOM,
Oh yeah.
story.story as paragraph. So we're gonna have to look into what split DOM is doing.
Okay.
Is that a Django thing?
No, it's one of our tags. It's in this a mid tags file, you medley, Storyville medley, util template tags, misc tags, and look for do split DOM. Sorry, not do split DOM. We're looking for split DOM node.
Okay. Got it. Thank you. So can we assume from this point that the JavaScript isn't being encoded until story_free renders it? Is that the assumption so far? Because we trace story_detail.html, and we put the debug statement on line 200, and the story was still fine at that point. Then we ran through all the tweet logic and published this, and I think it was still fine. And then I think I kind of got lost at the point where we were at the end where it renders story_embed or story_detail new/story_detail or story_embed. And I guess, Mhm.
So here's an idea. Why don't we put a debugger right inside, you see split DOM node class? Look at the render method and let's put a debugger right underneath render. Because over there you see HTML equals to something done to HTML. I think at that point, the resolve, that's probably a good place to compare the old HTML to the new HTML and see maybe something is happening at resolve.
Yeah, and there's a eTree HTML parser, which looks interesting too.
Yeah, I think we're probably going to find out what's happening here. Somewhere something is unsafe being passed in and it's escaping it.
Yeah, I agree.
I'll bet you, yeah, I'll bet you that that particular tag is probably not getting called from the story detail in the wired version. I'm going to check that right quick while we're doing a trace.
Yep.
Actually, I looked in the wired version. The wired version ends up with a template called story.html, which is inside V2 newspapers web news story.html. And if you search for story.story, you'll see that it's being passed to the safe filter. So that's probably where that one doesn't have the escaped character issue.
Right, but we were eventually passing it through the safe filter here. But it's happening before we get it to the safe filter. So I'm wondering if this split DOM node is doing something with it. I know I've worked with not eTree, but like Beautiful Soup, and I know sometimes that can convert, at least older versions of it, had bugs where it would convert JavaScript in that way. So it's possible eTree is also doing that.
Yeah, and that split DOM tag is only used in story-free and a random about.html page and sub-layouts. So that kind of confirms that we're not using the same technology in mobile that we are in on desktop to render the story. They're doing it two separate ways.
Okay, that makes sense. So I put in the import PDB here. I'm not sure if that's correct.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, you could put it right inside the try statement below line 1120,
Okay.
and then we'll see. We'll check the HTML before and after, and see what's going on.
Actually, you'll want to put in another pdb.setTrace right after the tree.
This one. Okay.
Yeah, actually, yeah, and then we'll check that. That way we can continue to that statement.
All right.
You can even do it after 1121 too. Like, yeah, right there. Before and after that. Yep.
All right.
We probably should have removed all the other PDB statements so we didn't have to go through them.
That's true. You could just cancel this and maybe
Remove.
it'll be faster if you just remove those other ones. Yeah.
All right. Command Z. Okay.
Go ahead and hit C to get to the next one since we put a statement after. Yeah, now let's find out what HTML is.
All right. Do I just start HTML?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, it's
Okay,
good.
that still looks good.
It's
All
going to
right,
be the next one, I bet. It's going to transform.
Yep. All right, go ahead and type in tree. Let's see. I'm not sure how to navigate tree. Type in DIR parenthesis tree. Okay. So what I just had you do there was you can go and inspect elements in Python and find out what methods they have. So let's try tree.items. Sorry, with parentheses afterwards.
Okay.
Okay. Anything?
How about
Go ahead.
How about tree.text? It's an empty tree.
Okay, so that's probably the next line in that was if not tree. Could we go back and look at the code where you've got the PDB statements?
All right.
Actually, let's do something silly. I just want to make sure that tree is going to be considered empty. Would you type if tree colon
Yes.
print tree in quotation marks.
Okay. Wait,
But space between print and tree. And then hit enter. Okay.
That's a good test.
So tree is there. So the next line is context self.variable name equals eTree toString element for element in tree 0. So let's just type out a tree bracket 0 and see what's in there. Oh, let's actually type out copy and paste. There's an iterable. Sorry, let's go back to the code.
Okay.
Right quick. You see a line where it says if not tree, and then you see else.
Oh, there we go.
Yep. If you go past to the else statement.
Okay.
Copy and paste after the equals sign. Yeah, copy that whole thing in and let's see what it gives us.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Ah, and there it's converted. Yep, it's got.
There you go.
It's got the beautiful.
Yep. And that doesn't look beautiful.
No.
So it's eTree.toString that's doing this.
Well, specifically, so the error that I remember Beautiful Soup used to have is that when it read in the HTML, it would automatically escape it on the way in. And I'm guessing eTree is probably doing that same thing. So when it actually reads it into the tree, that's probably when it's happening.
Yeah, and you know what? Obviously, this works for Wired. It's not using the same template tags and the same parsing. So but we can keep digging into this. But Holden, I think you have enough to go on. You could just pretty much make sure the parsing happens the same way that we do in Wired, and it's just pulling in a different template altogether to render that, where it's not going through this split DOM parsing. So you definitely have enough to go on, and I don't know, are there any more remarks? I know I've held you all for a long time, and I really appreciate this. This is really good debugging. It's been really fun. First of all, do you have enough to go on, do you believe? You know the exact line that's doing the translation now.
Yeah, and so I guess, so since I couldn't fix this myself, I guess I just wouldn't want to use the split DOM template tag.
Or maybe modify it if you need it, but I would go to a tried and tested approach, because we have related objects and Wired, and it's having to do and include for the map, and I would just look there and make sure that we're consistent with the templates.
Okay.
So instead of trying to fix this, I would take the same exact approach.
I see.
That we took care.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm glad we figured out what it was, and thank you everyone for your help with that.
So Jen, Mason, you guys have been active, so let me go ahead and let Jen speak first.
Oh, I was just going to say thank you, Rob. This was fun.
I think it was really fun. How about you, Mason?
How about me? What?
Just final thoughts before signing off.
Oh, it's actually challenging, trying to debug something over, long distance, because when you've got things local, it's you just put in the debuggers, and then type continue. It's much faster, but this way it's actually interesting, much more challenging to do it like that.
Yeah, especially when I have no idea what I'm doing. I bet it's a little hard.
Yeah, and we've given you we've given you tools to debug, so you know how to kind of trace this. But yeah, we know the exact line, the parsing that's translating these entities, and like for now, I think a good approach is to kind of standardize the related inline implementation for mobile that we have for wired, because it works there and it's just good to be consistent.
Yeah.
So from a template level, you'll be able to pretty much take that approach. You might have to look at the backend for URL mappings, but you might just be able to say for that new template you have, the story_free, where it just exists for mobile and you're just including that split DOM for mobile, you might be able to include or inherit the implementation we have for Wired in that very template, or just use the same one that Wired is using to render those related inlines.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. All right. And I learned a lot too, so yeah, helpful.
Okay, well, anybody, you're welcome to dig deeper, but I think this is a great start, and I really appreciate all the help. It's been fun. We'll do this more.
All right.
Okay. Everyone have a great weekend.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
All right, bye.